I'm going to do a quick video on the soul. The soul is I've got a cup. The soul is a vessel. It's an empty vessel at birth. As we go through life, the experiences we experience, like putting our hand on a hot element, gets stored in the soul. And when we walk up to a hot element the next time, we recall, which is from a memory, which is the soul, what happened. And we don't put a hand on the element again. We learn. The mind is like the computer that puts everything together. And so the soul being empty, like an empty book, and the pages are written on as you go through your life, your mind can recall. So it's like your soul is like a hard drive. It just popped into my head, and your mind is the computer, and it calls to the hard drive. It goes through the list of events that happened in your life extremely fast time, and says, "I remember that. But what I did last time didn't work, so I'm going to do this time because it's different, and it might work." So it's about learning. Now it's like you can have knowledge, and you can have learning, education, life education, but you need wisdom to learn how to use the knowledge for a better future, and maturity, wisdom and maturity. So you might look at the element and think, after being bitten the first time, you can put your hand on it the second time. But you all know what'll happen, so I guess you wouldn't do that. It's a little too much of an intense accident. You might try smoking and cough like a lot and then vomit. And then 2 years later, get off another cigarette and decide to take it. And it doesn't, you don't vomit and you start smoking. Then 30 years' time, you die of lung cancer. When we drink too much alcohol and when we smoke too much and when we do too many drugs, our body reacts in certain ways according to the original event. That's is all in, installed in the soul, recorded in the soul, kept in the soul, for the mind to reach back and grab and deal with. So we're built of body, soul, body. We are, what is it, spirit, heart, body, and soul. And the spirit is our closest connection to God that comes down through. It is spoken out, like the heart is a loudspeaker, and it comes out through our heart. A spiritual heart, not a physical heart, a spiritual heart. We all have a spiritual heart, which is our inner core, our inner being. In our soul, we could grow up. Oh, the reason why we have this variation, when we're born, we have a blueprint, and the blueprint says you're a female, you're a male. This is all the attributes of a female, these are all the attributes of a male, and that's what you're supposed to stick to. We don't get a really thick blueprint like an animal does, whereas most animals will stay on their path no matter what environment or no matter where they are. Humans tend to have such a huge range of places to live, huge amount of cultures, religions, beliefs, and our habits, our eating habits, the way we cook, the way we have weddings, marry, all those things are different. So we have a very basic blueprint. With the kittens I have, I wasn't sure about toilet training, so I got a box and I just put dirt down to see what would happen. And the kittens just went straight over and went to dug a little hole and went to the toilet and covered it up. And I was like looking, thinking, no one taught them how to do that. And they knew instantly to go to the mother for food. A human baby can't go to its mother for food. It's too small, too weak, and it's unable to. The the human baby doesn't learn how to go use a toilet, or even if it's on the bush, go on the ground for a long time, long time. We have to do it for that baby. So it takes a lot longer for humans to get things, or to be physically capable and able to do things, to speak, to stand up. Like you might have a child who's walking at 9 months old, and then you'll have another child that'll walk at 1.5 years old. It's different. It's different. It varies, and it varies all around the world. Therefore, the human, um, it's a lot. There's a, you call it. You have 0 and you have +5, -5. We have a large +100, -100 variation area where we are extremely adjustable. So the soul, empty at birth, filled up as we go through life, is what the mind recalls information of the past from, and then uses it in hopefully a mature, wise way for the future. In an immature society where the people are not mature, they can make the same mistake repetitively over and over and over again. And they may be very wise. I remember a girl here in New Zealand was on I think it was the Otago, that longest hill, and it's very steep. She got in a wheelie bin with a friend or by herself, wheelie bin down the road, and because her head was sticking over, hit a trailer, I think, and killed her. She was about 18. In the newspaper the next day, everyone was raving how she was very intelligent, how she was one of the smartest children. The young people of the day have a great promising future. So why did she do such an absolutely stupid thing? No disrespect for her or her family, but why did she hop into a wheelie bin and go down an extremely steep hole and do such a foolish thing? Well, A, she was drunk, if I remember correctly, but B, she was intelligent in schoolwork. Not wise. What she did was not wise. What she did was very immature. And this is the basic structure of the mentality of the young adult today. They are very school intelligent, academic intelligent, math, science, English, whatever, but they are lacking in maturity, which should be in their soul, which remains if the parents had stayed with them through their growing up and given a good example of love, compassion, and maturity. Therefore, the young person today would have an example to look up to and say, what would my father do in this situation? And today it's more normally dead because we're 3 or 4 decades down from the maturity of the 1950s. We have decades of what they call, there was feminism, there was the sexual revolution, there was women's liberation, there was there's all sorts of things, revolutionaries, they're called revolutions, things that happened to free up humankind to become more weak-minded. There's politically correct where you can't go out and say this is that because you might offend someone, you might upset someone. So we got to the stage where the 1990s it got very confusing what was right and what was wrong, and the young people with punk rock and all these other disco, 60s, sexual revolution, feminism, the young people lost their identity. They had an identity crisis that went on for decades until eventually it got to the stage where the genders were totally mixed up. And we live in a stage where the adults today, this is quite a few generations from the 1950s, the adults today are actually signing legal documents stating that a male, a homosexual male is allowed to go into a woman's sport and completely wipe out a woman in that sport, get all the gold medals, and they claim it's fair. Yet he's got huge, muscly thighs and he outweighs her. He's, and they call it gender equality. They call it equality, where because his mind tells him he's a woman, therefore he can be a woman. And you go there and thrash them all. And a lot of the women are just like, "This is, you've got to be kidding, we can't win with this guy." When society comes to a stage when you see these extremely immature laws being passed in a high up place, like in New Zealand, they've just passed euthanasia. They tried to legalize drugs, recreational drugs. They've done full term abortion. Feminism's on the rise, and all sorts of childish things happening. You can see that with the immaturity that's happening, these souls are now, instead of being full of mature, stable, moral, decent, well structured foundations and mature experiences that breeds a mature future and good decisions, good choices, we have people who are growing up with an identity crisis of a lot of confusion, a lot of I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going or what's happening in my life. Being told by adults that females are males, males are females, males competing in female sports, all sorts of very strange things. Watching all sorts of really sick, weary movies, pornography available on the internet for children to watch. You get to the stage where you realize that the whole of society has become very mature because of the content of their soul is extremely weak. And therefore, when they make these choices in America right now, there are people going on stages like in TED Talks and stuff, and they're claiming being a pedophile is normal. Just like they say homosexuals is normal, and therefore children should be given to pedophiles to have sex with because it's a normal way to be. That kind of extreme immaturity is immaturity that is going to destroy humankind if it's not checked. We need to rein in our souls and we need to say, hold on, stop. What needs changing? What doesn't need changing? And then we need to look down and pretend we're like Fred McMurray in My Three Sons, puffing on that pipe, and look and say, is there any logic in a physical male going into a female sports event? Or is that a very immature and foolish thing to do? And we need to go through society and start calling, removing politically correct thinking, stop fearing that we will hurt other people's feelings, stop worrying about what other people think, stop caring about people that don't matter to us, and start seeing life as it really is. Because what we have at the moment is minds or souls full of Soul's full of extremely immature, illogical uh, thinking, and the mind only has that to draw from. So what I'm getting at, there's nothing in there that is wise and logical. The mind, you could be a lawyer with many degrees behind you and still be extremely immature and go out and support pedophiles or whatever. It's not your education that's important. That just means you can do something. You can have a completely immature person being an engineer or working on cars in Formula One racing. But then when you read about his life, he's doing all sorts of crazy things. It's the content of the soul today that is immature, that is weak, is unwise, and it is because the young have been brought up that way. That is the only thing that their minds have to draw from. If you go up to these people and you look them right in the eye and you say, a full-term baby is obviously alive, it just hasn't breathed air yet. You say it can be killed, and they say it's not alive until it comes out of the mother's tummy, a body, womb. That's how illogical and immature and unwise, impractical and immature they are. The only concern is having pleasure. The only concern is saying, me, this is what I want for me. In the 1800s, women, if they were pregnant and they found out by the doctor that they were going to die, and the doctor would say, we need to kill the baby so you can live, the woman would say, no, I'll have the baby. It is the total opposite now. Now it's get rid of the baby so I can live. It's all me, because immaturity is the little kitty in the sandpit grabbing the toy and saying, me. Road rage is the little kitty in the sandpit having a fight, the shovel or the spade or the bucket. Only in adult form. Going to see pornography, strippers, prostitutes. That's silly little children, illogical, immature thinking. And the reason it's taking over the world is because we have decades and decades of filling up people's souls with immaturity. And now the minds capable of maturity have only immature foundations, easily breakable, illogical, selfish thoughts to draw from, or experiences to draw from, to make the decisions of today. And that's why the world is the way it is. I wouldn't be surprised if some leader very soon in the next 10 years, 20 years, turns around and decides that a nuclear war is a way to clean off the world, because they'd be acting like a little baby. I will win, I've got the tools here, let's blow everyone up. We need to get scared. We need to have concern for our children. And we need to say, this is not working. The way we live today, the world we live in today, it's not working because the people don't know how to live as capable mature beings. One of the reasons that feminism has grown so strongly is because of the police force. These same women that are strutting around saying, we are women, we can do anything. If you took them back to medieval times and they went up to the kings and the men and the knights and the nobles and said, we are women, we are, they turn around and put them over their knee and give them a good spanking and then send them back home to make cooked dinner. I'm not attacking women and their abilities and their worth. I'm just saying that their immature power is immature. There was a woman in New Zealand I was horrified. She was a lawyer, very educated lawyer, and she in Auckland, so she was very highly paid, obviously. And she made a statement on one of the newspapers, 1990s, I'd say, where she said that all men on Father's Day should get down on their knees and apologise to their wives and children for child sex abuse. I think that's what it was. And all the men were horrified. She was basically saying every man, every father, every son, every brother was a sexual pervert, predating on children. That kind of statement says it all about maturity. If feminists were mature and grateful for what they had and the freedom that they have today, and not the freedom they had in the medieval times, they wouldn't be walking around strutting around demanding stuff like Helen Clark Arden and Hillary Clinton. They wouldn't be feathering their nests with hordes of money. They'd be getting out and helping people and helping other women, celebrating alongside the woman, the poor woman, the beaten woman, the women that are suffering. They're not helping these selfish women. They're not helping the beaten woman. And that's immaturity. It's all me, 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 me. It's all about themselves. Hillary Clinton succeeds, makes millions of dollars, and then turns around and says, "Woman, I did it for you." Really? Think about it. There's only one person that Hillary Clinton did it for. And all the millions of women that back her didn't get a cent. The only person she did it for was Hillary Clinton. We need to see the damage done, get back to the basics. A man is a man, a woman is a woman, children are children. Let's restart, restructuring society again.